very first thing that we always do is we're going to start off with our name. Press enter, and we should see everything update from there. First thing to note, okay, we're going to make a scatter plot. That's what part 1 is here. We're going to make this scatter plot using this data over here. The way you should read this or think about it is 10 meters per second, which is the speed, will give us a stopping distance of 12.85 meters. 15 meters per second will give us a stopping distance of 27.63. So if you look at this relationship, it makes sense that the faster you are going, the more stopping distance you will need. So we're going to use this data here to make a scatter plot, which we'll place over here. The way we do that is we're going to select, so I'm going to click on speed, and I'm just going to drag and click all of my data. Once I have it, I'm going to go up to Insert, over to where my charts are. For me, we want a scatter plot, so I'm going to click on the one that looks like this. If you hover, it says Insert Scatter. If I click on it, the very first option will make us a scatter plot. I'm going to drag this down, and I'm going to resize this so it fits in the area that is given to me. Perfect. Before we are done with part 1, all we are going to do is add some titles onto this. The way we do this is select the graph, go over to the plus sign. Notice that it already has the chart title, which we're going to modify in a second, but we also want axis titles. These should pop up here and here. Perfect. So let's just do some relabeling. For our bottom axis title, this is known as the x-axis, represents the independent variable. In our case, it is speed. So I'm just going to put speed. And I'll put the units. It's not necessary to put the units, but it's helpful to give all the information we can. On the y-axis, this axis over here, this is the distance. And it is measured in meters. And it should naturally format this correctly. If we grab this column first and then this column, it will keep your speed values on your x-axis, which is what we want, and our distance values on our y-axis, which again, that's what we want. Lastly, let's just go ahead and relabel this. We can actually keep this part. Normally you would take your y-axis, which is distance, and you will put verse your independent variable, which is on your x-axis, or speed. Awesome. And that is it for now. So I'll see you in part 2. We're going to add a trendline. Okay, let's go ahead and add this trendline, but before we do, let's discuss what is a trendline. A trendline is also known as a linear regression. Essentially what we're doing, we took our data, we plotted our points. We're going to come up with a line that best fits this data. It's not going to do it perfectly, but we're going to find a line that best fits this data, and that is by using the trendline tool that we'll pull up here in a second. So the way we do that is we're going to click the plus sign again, chart elements. We're going to go down to trendline, and we're just going to select. You will notice that the line will pop up there. You can already see this line. Now I'm going to go a little bit further. We're going to add a few pieces to this. The arrow, we do not need to change this, right? It is already preset to linear. There are other types of predictive models, which is what we are essentially building here, a predictive linear model. There's other types of models, but we don't use those. We want to go to more options. Once we are at more options, we're going to scroll down. If not already so, you can see that I have trendline option selected. It's this kind of bar looking graph. Make sure we have the trendline option selected. We do not need to mess with linear. I will scroll down. There's a couple things we want to change. The very first thing we want to change is we're going to add display equation on chart. This is going to help us later on. We can also display the R squared, and I'll do a brief talk about what that is. It's not super important for this, but you can add it if you would like. You don't have to. And lastly, let me make some let me discuss how this is going to connect to the other piece. So we've made this model. This is now a predictive model that represents the data that we gave it. I can now use this linear regression or trend line to try to estimate or predict other values, right? So here are the other values that in part 4, I believe we will predict. However, you'll notice my line, because it is built off of my data, starts at 10 and goes to 20. However, my data starts at 6 and it goes down to 26. So I'm going to move it forward because it only goes to 20 and I need it to go to 26. I'm going to move it forward 6 units. And right now it's at 10 and it should start at 6, so that way I can see a better prediction. I'm going to move it back 4 units. Which was 26, so I moved it forward 6 units to get it all the way to 26. And its lowest value is 6, so I had to move it back 4 units. If I press enter, it should extend it. Perfect. Once that is done, that is it for part 2. I will see you in part 3. Part 3, we are going to confirm the information that we have here, the trend line. And I also will give a brief discussion. So let me move this. I'll also give a brief discussion. So here's our trend line. This is our predictive model. R squared, again, not super important for this, but this tells us how well our model is performing. The closer the number is to 1, the better this is as a model. This is really good, right? 0.9779. This isn't really covered in the scope of right now, but just so you know, an R squared equal to 1 is the best value. That would be a perfect line through all of my data points. All right, we can see that my slope from my trend line is 3.6847 and my y-intercept is negative 26.317. It has already done this calculation for me, and we're actually going to go verify this over here. So these two boxes here want you to calculate the slope and y-intercept. We have the formulas above, and we're going to put equals, right? We need equals when we want to do a formula. I'm going to type in intercept for y-intercept. And now you'll notice when I put the parenthesis, it says known y values. Our y values in this problem are the distance values, comma, known x values, which are the speed values. Very easy to get those mixed up. So the y values are distance, we do those first, then we do the x's. We end with the parenthesis, we press enter. Notice that it should match, negative 26.3174 or 24. Same thing over here, negative 26.317, so correct. We're going to do the same thing with slope. Equals slope, again, known y values, comma, known x values. And parenthesis, and again, it should match. 3.6847, 3.6847. Perfect. The last step is don't forget about this equation down here. Now, you can write this kind of identically if you want to. You could just put y's and x's. However, I'm going to be a little bit more explicit. Distance, which is my y value, is equal to my slope. We're just going to round it. 3.685. I'm going to times this by my speed. That is my x value. And now it would be normally plus your y-intercept, but because my y-intercept is negative, I'm going to put minus 26.317. Enter. And it doesn't say to round these here, so you don't have to round them. We're going to get to some rounding later, formatting these. I will see you in the next part of the video, and we will get into actually predicting these values. Part 4. Let's go ahead and get to the prediction. So again, to recap, we had some data points over here. We plotted the data points. We found what's called the trend line, which is known as the best fit line. This best fit line represents this data. We are using this data to make predictions on these speed values. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm taking this value of speed and I'm plugging it into my equation here for the speed value, and I will get a distance out. So I'm going to show you how to do that here, and this is F17. And if you do F17 correctly, it will make life easier for all the other ones. I promise you, you're only really going to have to do one cell in part 4 here. We're going to do equals because it is a formula. And this is the key thing. In every single one of these cells, I want to use the slope and the intercept value over and over again. So the way I keep recalling it again and again is I'm going to do what's called pinning down the cell. The way you pin this cell to select it is you put a $sign. It is living inside of B, column B, $26. And it will highlight it correctly. So here's the cell, B26. That is this first part in my equation. I grab the slope. Now I'm going to multiply it by my speed. Multiply, and now I'm going to just click on the speed. Notice that the speed value when I go down is going to change. This one's 6, the next one will be 8, next one's 10. So the speed value does change. We don't need to pin that down. Lastly, I need to add on the y-intercept. So I'm going to click plus, and again, I need to pin down the y-intercept. So again, $B, $27. Oh, did I grab the wrong one? Oh, I said 27. I meant 25. Easy mistake to make. It's very nice that it'll catch it though, so pay attention if you've highlighted the right cell. I'm going to press enter. Perfect. If I've done this correctly and I've used the $signs, I can click on the cell that I just did, go to the right corner, you'll see a black cross appear. Click and drag all the way down. If you do that, it will autofill all of them for you. It is not wrong to go into each one and just type it out each time. That's fine, but you could understand that might take you a little bit long, not as efficient, not incorrect, but just probably not as efficient. This is already 2 decimals, so there's nothing to reformat. So we are done with part 4. I will see you in part 5, and we will just go into this interpretation box there. So I will see you in part 5. Part 5, let's interpret, and we will be done with this discussion question. They try to squeeze a lot in here. It says, use your graph to approximate the stopping distance at a speed of 23. And it just says use your graph, right? So we don't need to plug it. You could plug it into the equation, but because it's saying use your graph, we're just going to go to our speed of 23, somewhere between 20 and 25, and we're just going to go up. And that's living somewhere between, it looks like 50 and 60 meters. And so I can just put in, I'll just call it right in between. As long as it's in the right ballpark, that's fine. So 55, it's just an estimate using the graph. Perfect. Okay, the next thing that we want to do, it says, give an interpretation of the slope and intercept. Do both make sense? I'm just going to copy and paste this exact box, and I'm just going to fill it out, right? So I'm going to copy and paste this exact box, or it looks like there's 2 boxes here. Let's copy the first one. And even if you just wanted to fill it out, that is also fine. Control C. Control V, and I'm just going to switch. So for every 1 meter per second increase in speed, there is a blank meter increase in stopping distance. And this is just another way of asking for what is your slope? This is saying, let's go ahead and erase that. We can round it, 3.685, 685. So this is saying for every 1 meter second increase in speed. So as I multiply this by 1, I get 3.685. If I multiplied it by 2, that would be adding another 3.685. So every time I increase speed by 1 unit, I get an extra 3.685 meters in my stopping distance. So that is the first part. Let's grab the second one. Does it let me go down? There we go. Let's grab the second one. We'll fill out both these. Control C. I'll go back to my box. Let's go ahead. We'll just push the down arrow. Oh, maybe not. I'll just append it on here. Control V. It says if the speed is 0 meters per second, the stopping distance predicted is it's just going to be the intercept. If I plug in 0 here, 3.685 times 0, I end up with just this negative 26.37. So that is all I'm going to put in here. Negative 26.317. And again, remember what we're talking about. This is talking about the stopping distance. And so the last part here is, does this make sense? Does this make sense? Yes or no? And we're going to go with this does not make sense. We can't have a negative stopping distance, and that's really all you need to say. No further justification. So I'll say this does not make sense because we cannot have a negative stopping distance. Perfect. And that is it for the interpretation. Let me know if you have any questions. If not, I will see you in the next topic.